we know almost nothing about the situation in North Korea, also known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Since the signing of the Armistice Agreement in 1953, North Korea has been extremely content with keeping its citizens isolated from the outside world. The country is so closed off that everything we know about North Korea comes from spies and horrifying stories from those who have escaped. Information about North Korea is limited to what their government allows. Here are 15 of the strangest things that only exist in North Korea. Traffic police girls. On the busy streets of Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, a unique and eye-catching sight has captivated both tourists and locals: the traffic police girls. These women, once known as traffic safety officers, have become an integral part of the urban landscape in Pyongyang since the 1980s. They are selected from the ranks of the National Police Force based on specific criteria, such as age, height, and appearance. Applicants must be between 16 and 26 years old, at least 1.65 meters tall, and have a pleasant, friendly appearance. In addition to these requirements, they must also demonstrate loyalty to the ruling party, have a clean family background, and be unmarried. Once selected, the traffic girls undergo rigorous training to master traffic signals and gestures. Their movements are characterized by precision, flexibility, and grace, as they easily guide cars, buses, and bicycles through the city's crowded intersections. They are equipped with batons, whistles, and traffic control boards to assist with their work, and frequently change positions every 30 minutes to maintain alertness and focus. The traffic girls are a symbolic representation of North Korea's unique combination of power, beauty, and order. They are a source of national pride and play an important role in keeping the streets safe and tidy. With uniforms that are both functional and visually appealing, they represent discipline and beauty. They work long hours in harsh conditions and are a source of inspiration for foreign tourists. Fake city in the demilitarized zone. In the demilitarized zone of South Korea, there is a seemingly normal town called Kijeongdong, also known as the Propaganda Village, located in the demilitarized zone, DMZ. Although completely empty, it still serves as a facade to showcase North Korea's development and prosperity. In the 1950s, after the Korean War divided the peninsula into North and South, Kijeongdong was created as a strange structure with the purpose of using the promise of a better life to lure defectors from the South as part of a psychological warfare strategy. From a distance, Kijeongdong looks like a modern village with buildings, schools, offices, and even hospitals. The bright exterior of the buildings and continuous maintenance give the impression that the village is inhabited. However, upon closer inspection, one can see that these structures are just hollow concrete blocks with painted windows and no signs of life inside. The government keeps everything updated and even adjusts the lights to make it appear as if there is activity going on. Kijeongdong has become a symbol of North Korea's obsession with image and control. It creates the impression that the country is progressing, even though there is no actual development. Kijeongdong is also famous for having the world's tallest flagpole, standing 160 meters tall, with the North Korean flag proudly flying. The DMZ stretches for 250 kilometers across the Korean peninsula and serves as a buffer zone between the two Koreas. Ironically, since no one lives here, the area has become a sanctuary for wildlife. Kijeongdong is a mysterious village that serves as a reminder of the ongoing hostility between North and South Korea. It is not the only fake city in North Korea, but it is the most famous due to its location within the demilitarized zone. Tourists who visit often observe Kijeongdong through binoculars, hoping to catch a glimpse of this secretive village. The North Korean regime has a history of building sophisticated facades, known as Potemkin villages, designed to deceive others and create an image of prosperity and progress. This tactic aims to intimidate adversaries while maintaining the loyalty and support of citizens by perpetuating the myth of a prosperous and powerful nation. Strange time zone. Another peculiar feature of North Korea is its time zone, known as Pyongyang time or the Korean Standard Time. This highlights the country's isolation and uniqueness. Before Pyongyang time, North Korea decided to set the clock back by 30 minutes on August 15, 2015, establishing a time zone different from both South Korea, Japan, and the rest of the world. The decision to adopt UTC plus 8:30, as announced by the North Korean government, was made to separate itself from Japan, a country that occupied the Korean peninsula from 1910 to 1945. Prior to that, North Korea shared the same time zone with South Korea and Japan. North Korea sought to emphasize its national identity and independence, while symbolizing the elimination of Japanese imperialism by reverting to the time zone used before Japan occupied the country. The implementation of Pyongyang time has had many practical consequences. Businesses and organizations operating on the Korean peninsula face difficulties due to North Korea's time zone difference. They have to adjust schedules and communications to accommodate the time discrepancy. International tourists also struggle with this, as they need to account for the 30-minute difference when booking flights, trains, and other forms of transportation. Ryugyong Hotel. The Ryugyong Hotel is a 105-story skyscraper in Pyongyang, North Korea, which has been under construction since 1987. The original plan was for it to become the tallest hotel in the world, but construction was halted in 1992 due to financial issues. The Ryugyong Hotel has never opened, and there are many theories as to why. Some believe that the structure of the building may be weak and unable to withstand natural disasters like earthquakes. Reports suggest there were numerous problems during construction, including the use of substandard materials and poor construction workmanship. These flaws raise doubts about the building's stability and safety, which could explain why the hotel never attracted guests. Others argue that the delay in the hotel's opening is due to a lack of capital and the absence of suitable foreign partners to manage its operations. Although the North Korean government reached out to several high-end hotel chains, such as Kempinski, no agreements were made. Finding a partner to manage the hotel became difficult due to ongoing economic sanctions and restrictions in international relations. The hotel, with 3,000 rooms and amenities, such as conference rooms and a revolving restaurant, is an excellent idea that has yet to be realized. The Ryugyong Hotel continues to attract attention and provides a unique insight into the complexities of North Korea, regardless of whether the hotel ever opens. Ban on jeans and Western clothing. North Korea has a state-controlled economy, and the government tightly manages every aspect of life, including fashion. The country has a dress code that emphasizes conservatism and modesty, prioritizing traditional Korean clothing. The people of North Korea are expected to wear clothes that reflect the country's socialist values and promote unity and solidarity. Jeans and Western clothing are seen as symbols of capitalist culture and are therefore banned. The North Korean government has also used the restriction of Western clothing as a means to control the flow of information and ideas from outside. By limiting access to Western clothing, the government can reduce exposure to Western culture and ideas, which they view as a threat to their socialist ideals. Although there is no official ban on jeans and Western clothing in North Korea, the government still encourages limiting their use and distribution as a way to maintain control over society and restrict exposure to outside influences. Government-regulated hairstyles. To maintain control over its citizens and protect the regime's reputation, the North Korean government strictly manages personal grooming and appearance. Approved hairstyles are specifically listed for both men and women. These hairstyles are generally short and simple, with longer hair viewed as a symbol of capitalist decadence and immorality. For men, the most common hairstyle is short and neat, typically no longer than 5 centimeters, with the sideburns trimmed above the ears. One of the popular hairstyles for men in North Korea is the one worn by leader Kim Jong-un. For women, acceptable hairstyles depend on factors such as age and marital status. Married women are allowed to use a few hair accessories and may have slightly longer hair compared to unmarried women. Unmarried women are required to keep their hair short and tidy. Typically, women are not allowed to dye or curl their hair, as these trends are considered influenced by Western culture and could threaten the purity of national ideals. The government enforces hairstyle regulations through regular inspections and initiatives by local community organizations and government representatives. Barbershops and hair salons must display posters and images of approved hairstyles, and those who do not comply may be fined, criticized, or even publicly humiliated. Computer systems and the internet in North Korea. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea strictly controls and monitors its citizens' access to information. To own a computer, one must obtain special permission from the government, and each computer is registered with the police, as if it were a dangerous tool. The internet in North Korea is entirely different from the rest of the world. Only a small portion of the population can use computers in laboratories, offices, universities, and internet cafes in major cities. North Korea's internal network, known as Kwangmyong, Bright Star, operates on a legally imported Microsoft software and has a structure similar to the internet. Since 1994, most people and organizations have used this free network to access the internet, but it only provides access to a limited number of websites for a select group of people. Since 2016, users can access fewer than 30 websites. An American engineer accidentally discovered a list of websites that North Korea allows its citizens to view, with most content being propaganda, some recipes, North Korean movies, and government-related trade and tourism information. Some academic institutions, like the Kim Il-sung University of Science and Technology, offer access to the global internet, but access through this channel is tightly controlled. No religious freedom. Unlike many places around the world, North Korea has no religious freedom. The North Korean government officially adheres to atheism and actively suppresses all forms of religion. The nation's leadership promotes the deification of the Kim family and the Juche ideology, emphasizing self-reliance and loyalty to the state. The North Korean government views any religious activity as a potential threat to its control over the citizens and the nation. It sees religion as a Western influence incompatible with its socialist ideals and a potential source of dissent. Religious activities such as attending church or participating in religious ceremonies are illegal in North Korea. The government has arrested, detained, and even executed individuals practicing religion or expressing religious beliefs. Christian believers and members of other religious groups face especially severe repression, with reports of these individuals being held, tortured, or killed for their faith. The government closely monitors citizens for any signs of religious activity and encourages people to report suspicious behavior to the authorities. In summary, there is no religious freedom in North Korea, and the government actively suppresses all forms of religion to maintain control over the country and its citizens. No freedom of movement. The North Korean government tightly controls citizens' movement within the country and restricts their ability to travel abroad. Citizens must seek permission to move within the country and are always required to carry identification documents proving their residence and workplace. Moving outside the designated area without permission is illegal and can result in severe punishment, including imprisonment and forced labor. The government also restricts international travel, and the majority of North Koreans are not allowed to leave the country. Only a select few are granted permission to travel abroad, and even when permitted, they are closely monitored by the government. These restrictions are designed to maintain the government's control over its citizens and prevent the spread of information and ideas that the regime considers a threat to its socialist ideals. The government views the freedom of movement as a potential source of dissent and a way for citizens to learn about the outside world and compare their living conditions with those in other countries. Prohibition on insulting the government. North Korea has strict regulations and laws regarding the behavior and conduct of its citizens, particularly rules about showing respect for the leaders and national symbols. Disrespecting the leaders, symbols, or ideals of the country can lead to severe punishments, including imprisonment, forced labor, and even the death penalty. For example, damaging or destroying images of national leaders, including statues, portraits, and other symbols, is considered a crime. The government also prohibits any form of criticism or negative comments about the leaders or their policies. Additionally, the government requires citizens to participate in public events and commemorations to demonstrate loyalty to the state and its ideals. Failing to attend or fully participate in these events may be viewed as disrespect and result in punishment. These strict rules and regulations are designed to maintain the government's control over its citizens and promote loyalty to the state and its leaders. The government sees any form of dissent or criticism as a potential threat to its power and implements strict measures to suppress them. Control of broadcast waves. The North Korean government tightly controls all forms of media, including radio and television. The country has a state-run media system, with all media owned and operated by the government. The government censors all content to ensure it aligns with the nation's socialist ideals and promotes loyalty to the state and its leaders. North Korean citizens are only allowed to listen to and watch state-controlled media channels. These channels broadcast propaganda and government-approved content. The government prohibits citizens from accessing foreign media, including radio and television broadcasts from outside the country. These restrictions, along with the government's strict control over all forms of media, aim to limit the flow of information and ideas from the outside world. The government views access to foreign media as a potential threat to its socialist ideals and a way for citizens to learn about the outside world and compare their living conditions with those of other countries. In summary, the North Korean government tightly controls all forms of media, including radio and television, and restricts access to foreign media and the internet. These restrictions aim to limit the flow of information and ideas from the outside world while promoting loyalty to the state and its leaders. Control over culture and arts. The North Korean government has long been known for its strict control over cultural and entertainment sectors, including music, film, and television programs. The government has promoted traditional Korean forms of music and art while limiting access to foreign cultural influences, including K-pop. In recent years, K-pop has become popular worldwide, including in South Korea, North Korea's neighbor. However, the North Korean government is known for suppressing K-pop within the country, fearing the influence of foreign culture on its citizens. The government is concerned that the popularity of K-pop and other forms of South Korean entertainment could lead to a loss of control over the citizens' ideologies. Although the government tries to prevent K-pop and other foreign entertainment forms, there are reports indicating that North Korean citizens secretly listen to and watch K-pop and other South Korean media. Some North Koreans have even been arrested for secretly listening to music and watching films from South Korea, facing severe punishment if caught. Prohibition on international calls. It is important to note that international phone calls are strictly restricted in North Korea. The government tightly controls all forms of communication within the country, including telephone calls and internet access, and limits access to information from the outside world. International calls can only be made with government permission, and the use of mobile phones is also heavily restricted. Only a small percentage of the North Korean population is allowed to use mobile phones, and those individuals can only make domestic calls without access to the internet or the ability to make international calls without government approval. The government also tightly controls the use of landline phones and international calls, which can only be made from designated phone lines that are closely monitored by the authorities. The high cost of international calls and the limited number of international phone lines also make it difficult for most North Koreans to contact people outside the country. The North Korean government's strict control over communication methods aims to maintain its power and prevent citizens from accessing information that may conflict with government propaganda or challenge its socialist ideals. The government sees uncontrolled communication as a potential threat to its authority and actively works to suppress it. Prohibition on accessing the outside world. One of the defining characteristics of the regime in North Korea is the prohibition on accessing the outside world. North Korean citizens are not allowed to travel abroad without special permission from the government, and even if permission is granted, they are closely monitored. The government is concerned that exposure to other countries may lead citizens to compare their lives with those in other nations, which could result in dissatisfaction with the regime. For this reason, access to cultures and ideologies outside of North Korea is seen as a threat to the government's power. The prohibition on accessing the outside world is one of the strategies used by the regime to maintain control and prevent the spread of ideas that it views as dangerous to the regime. And now, goodbye and see you in the next video.